16 would have to stop at a guard hut at the west end of the camp. The public road from here to the east end of the camp was controlled by the military during the war. Near the road was the powerhouse, generating electricity for the 3,000 lights in the camp. Behind was the bathhouse. Near the camp entrance was the administration area, the headquarters, the guardhouse and attached prison yard, and other offices. Behind, to the north, was the central avenue which bisected the barracks area. Next were the railway sidings with storehouses for the quartermaster and the Army Service Corps. A bakehouse with 4 brick chimneys produced enough bread for the entire camp. At the east end of the camp were stables for 500 horses, for training mounted riflemen, artillerymen and Army Service Corps drivers. Across the road from the stables, and bounded by Camp Road, was Canvas Camp. There were basic dining halls, cookhouses and latrine blocks, but the men lived entirely under canvas. There were many rows of rectangular tents, usually housing 8 men. On the corner of Camp Road and the main road was the hospital. The 2 striking octagonal wards were the centre of the medical area. Then came the institutes of the Catholic, Salvation Army and Anglican churches. Behind them were the Soldiers' Club and the United Institute for other churches. Further along the road were the Soldiers' Canteen, the longest building in camp, and a row of retail shops. Nearest Featherston was the Officers' Club before leaving the military-controlled area. From the back of the camp, the central avenue ran towards the public road, dividing the rows of barracks, which were called hutments in New Zealand. In the centre of the avenue were 6 cookhouses, and at right angles on either side were the 8 dining halls, each feeding 600 soldiers. Across the road to the south and behind the main road buildings were huts for the male medical staff and isolation wards for those with infectious diseases like measles. Although the camp had water and waste pipes, there were no flushing toilets and no underground sewerage system. Toilet blocks, called latrines in the army, were built on the edge of the camp and some distance from tent lines at Canvas Camp. The latrines were emptied by a night cart patrol, a duty that most men in camp had to share. North of the camp was a prominent water tower, where water was pumped from 2 wells to supply the camp. Effluent was burnt in the incinerators at the extreme back of the camp, or buried. Between the incinerators and the stables was the riding school. Part of the early morning routine for mounted riflemen and artillery drivers was to clean out the stables. Horses were an essential part of the war effort.